nothing like this has ever happened to me before. Ever.
Alrighty, hey guys, what's going on? This is Eric here, and today I'm back with our third Kid Nation interview. Today I'm joined with the awesome DK, better known as Daniel Kyri these days, leader of the Red District in Bonanza City, and overall really cool guy. Thanks for being on, DK. Really appreciate it.
Yo, Eric, I appreciate you, homie. Do you go by Eric on this thing, or is it?
Yeah, Eric's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for tracking me down and reaching out, man. I'm excited. I mean, like we were talking about a little bit earlier, but this Kid Nation thing, coming back out into the pop cultural zeitgeist it's really interesting for me. So
yeah, no, it's crazy. It's huge. So.
Yeah. I want to start off by saying, because I know I want everybody to know that I entirely disagree with the ranking of my 14-year-old self on the show. I feel like I'm at least in that B tier.
You were B tier.
Like,
you are B tier.
I'm B?
Yeah, I gave you B tier.
So wait, it's B, A, and then it's S,
yeah.
A, and then B.
Yes.
Okay, well, I should be an S.
No. I don't know, man. I mean, if this makes you feel any better, we have Kennedy coming on in a few days, and after that, Olivia. I gave Kennedy a C tier, and I gave Olivia a straight F, dude.
Whoa!
Yeah, yes, dude.
That actually does make me feel a little bit better.
Okay, yeah, that's great. I mean...
But you were saying that people were arguing that I should be put lower than what I was.
Oh, I mean, of course people are arguing, one way or the other. I mean, some people thought you're a bit of a drama queen. Other people thought, you really saved the red team after, Guyland's leadership and stuff.
How do I feel about that? I feel like yes to the drama queen comment. I feel like I've also grown up and turned it into a career, so I'm not mad at it.
That's amazing. That
and then I also, I don't know, man, because I rewatched the whole thing with my roommate and my partner like a couple weeks ago now. The thing about it is that like it's very easy watching the show to like judge like all of those like kids, and then like the thing that I kept coming back to is like, damn, like we were all kids, right? You know what I mean? Like they 100%. Were really like villains of the show and whatever, and I'm still like, yeah, that's a 15-year-old kid,
right?
You know what I mean? Like, or an 8-year-old kid, like whatever it is. So I don't know, it was a pretty wild experience.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel like a lot of it was just played up for media hype and everything. So in regards to what you brought up, would you really say that anyone was inaccurately portrayed to how they were on the show, like in person?
I'm not sure if any of us were inaccurately portrayed. I think that there were perhaps moments of like contention that were, if not outright orchestrated, then at least kind of like, I'm like the producers are like nudging this kid and this kid to have a thing happen or whatever. I think probably the biggest misrepresentation on the whole show was that there were, and then again, I am also speaking from my own personal experience, but there were like people who's kind of weren't main plot people in the actual, execution of the show, the actual result of it, that I feel like had actual bigger roles. But again, like that's my own personal experience. So no. Long story short, no.
Okay, yeah, I got you. What was your favorite experience on the show?
My favorite experience on the show. Well, I think the showdowns, man. I think like the challenges and stuff, just like they were wild, and some of them were like wildly unfair. I think also to the expectation for like kids to actually follow through, and like the stuff that they would kind of dangle in front of us was kind of messed up. Like the one with the outhouses, especially. I was that's like not. Yeah, sorry. I don't know if there's just.
Oh yeah, no. Say whatever you want.
Yeah, that was really fucked up. Like, I was like, what the hell? But no, I think my favorite was like the shit that like, of course, none of you guys get to see. Like, you guys, like, you know what I mean? Like, waking up early in the morning, you know, and like hanging out before we got mics on, and like having like little private moments, like just like behind the scenes, like were my favorites. And then the showdowns, I think, were
Okay.
like,
Yeah, definitely. Um, Going off of the showdowns, what would you say was your favorite showdown?
I think my favorite. I think I'm not sure if I have a favorite, but I think the most memorable one for me was like the baked beans and pigs like frying pan.
Oh
That
yeah.
was the most memorable for me, just because it was just really strange. Like it, like I don't know. Like I still think about that. I don't know. It was just a really far out there thing that we did.
Exactly.
I don't have any favorites unnecessarily.
Right. Something that I was thinking, like, me and my friends recently watched the show, and something that we thought during, like, the pig scene was, like, there's no way there's all these pigs here and there's not, like, any pig poop. Like,
Oh,
was there?
well,
Pi-
it was like, and then that's what I mean by like most memorable, because in retrospect, it was nasty. Like it
Oh,
wasn't.
okay.
Yeah, it wasn't. And then like so you would have like beans and
Yeah.
pig shit all over you, and you're waiting on the cold for Jonathan to like finish talking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
yeah.
Definitely. You also mentioned that you had some, like, really nice moments in, like, the morning of, like, just starting the day. Like, who would those sort of memories be with? Do you remember, or is there any
Well,
like
yeah.
specific?
I feel like I remember one of the most like prominent moments that I'm remembering specifically is like I was getting mic'd up, or we were waiting to get mic'd up, and I was with Laurel, and it was around the time that we were filming that sort of that what do you call it? Not show and tell, the talent show
The talent show. Yep.
thing. And I remember because we would both like sing, we were both just like sing, and I remember she sang like Beyonce's a Listen from the Dreamgirls movie, and because I think it was out at that time, and I remember just being like, "Damn, girl, like you can sing." I was like, you need to like, you know, do that." She's like, "No, no, no, no." And then I remember for the talent show, I ended up writing a song or working on a song or something that they didn't end up airing until like the very last episode. There's like this
Right.
little outro moment that
Right.
we're like around
It's
the panel.
like the song sort of like "Life is like the wind."
Yeah, that's
Always
yeah,
should.
it's
Okay.
dangerous, never, oh my god, yeah. But for her, I remember her being like, no, like no, I'm not gonna do it, I'm not gonna do it. And then I remember that because I called her out in the town hall, and then she sang Amazing Grace,
Right.
which was like this big thing because she sounded amazing, she sounded incredible when she did.
Definitely.
But yeah. So that's like little stuff like that, or like just like, you know, we would have side like just like side conversations and stuff, and it was, I think, not maybe quite as antagonistic as the show would have you believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. I get that. So on
That's
that.
the thing.
Yeah, on that same note, so I mean, you kind of made a big deal that Laurel didn't participate in the talent show, but if I recall correctly, you didn't perform either in the talent
Well,
show.
that's the thing that I don't remember if I didn't perform or if I don't remember, because it seems like I would have, but you know, if I didn't, I don't know why I didn't, but I have a feeling that I did, and it just didn't make the like cut. But I don't know. I don't remember. It might be better if you ask someone else. They might have a clearer.
Okay, yeah,
I'm thinking
definitely.
of around the time that I drank bleach, so I have like a whole fuzzy memory, like
Right.
whatever around it. But,
That is crazy. That is something that so I'm glad you confirmed that you're the one that drank bleach because it was sort of up in the air for a while. I do
yeah.
have some questions about that. So for one, were you the only kid that drank bleach?
No. Well, no. Okay, here's what happened. I think
Okay.
it was around the time that the Red District were merchants. So it was me, Jazz, I think maybe Maggie, and like maybe one other like kid. And for whatever reason, there were no cameras around us at the time. I think they were all filming some altercation in the kitchen or whatever, and whatever. And I remember it was like early because we would go in early and like open stuff and clean stuff and get stuff ready. And I went in and I was like, I've got an idea. I was like, we should like do, because we did these like soda bomb things where
Yeah.
like have the flavors in the shot glass and then drop it into a different flavor of like soda, right? So like you could mix flavors and like come up with a new thing. And
yeah.
I remember grabbing this behind the like saloon, the bar in the saloon. I remember there was this, they had all of these sort of these clear bottles. You know, like sometimes you'll see the ones at the restaurants that kind of like pop off and like are refillable.
Yeah.
But so I had a bunch of them back there, and typically there would be different flavors in them. And there was one that I assumed was like the lemon flavor one. It's like this light colored, almost clear liquid, but like with a slight yellow tinge, which is of course bleach also looks like that.
Okay.
So grabbed it, poured it in these like shot glasses, and then we had our sodas and like drop it in. Right. Okay. So here's where things get tricky, right?
Yeah.
So you drop it in there, and the goal is, of course, to chug the soda. You have to be the first one done. So, your boy is in it to win it. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going, and it's like it's going down so fast that I don't like taste the thing. And then I'm starting to notice like the kids around me are like spitting it out, blah, blah, blah. And in my head, I can remember this very clearly. In my head, I was like a laugh thing, like they're all chickens, like blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then something changed.
Oh no.
As I was drinking it, it was the best way I can describe it is it's like fumes. It was like the feeling of like something like choking, like it and like my stomach started. And so like I set the thing down, and I'm like, it's this weird combination of like belching from the carbonation and like hiccups and like I can't breathe. And then I start like freaking out because there's like a slight like burning sensation. And then I remember running to like with like, I think Jazz and I maybe took off, or like maybe they took off and then I took off after them, and like running to like get help.
Yeah.
Then I like collapsed. I remember collapsing, and then because again drama queen, but also bleach. I remember collapsing, and then I remember being like carried out, and then, but basically what ended up happening is they just like diluted because I didn't drink that much bleach. You know what I mean? I think like more than anything, I was just like a kid who thought I drank bleach, and so I panicked. You know what I mean? Enough to like fucking pass out. Carried me off, and then I was like, they put me in a trailer, like away from all the other kids and stuff, and like there was a medic and there was like a whole thing, and then but basically they just diluted it, or I drank a bunch of water, and I think I this is getting like really in detail, but I think I like vomited a bunch.
Okay.
And then I like slept, and then like they like brought me food, and it was like burger and fries and pizza, and then I felt better, and then I went back to the town, and it was kind of like this thing where it's like, yeah, like I got to eat, like whatever. So I mean, like it was pretty crazy. I should talk to my mom, because I don't know if they actually ever even told. I would imagine they would have to call her and let her know that like I did, but I don't know how it worked out. But I'm alive, so
definitely, I'm happy you are. Definitely.
But that's what happened. It wasn't like because I feel like I've seen online where people are like, well, people are always asking like, why did a kid drink bleach? And it's not why, it's how. It's like,
right, exactly.
Because who the fuck is like, oh, bleach? Let me.
Yeah.
But so that's what happened. It's probably a lot less exciting than people.
I mean, you're a great storyteller. I think it's a little bit better.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So just a few questions on that. So for one, like, were you taken out of the show for a number of days, or was it just
No, dude, it wasn't a number of days. It was like, if anything, it was like a number of hours. Like I think I was gone for like maybe half that day of like shooting, so probably like 5 or 6 hours, and then they brought me back. Yeah.
Sure. And were the other girls that you were with, like Maggie and Jasmine, were they like brought out too, or were they fine?
No, because I drank the most, because as I was sort of sketching out earlier, I was just going for it. I was going for gold, and like they were like this has bleach, and I was like fucking such a I feel like it's, so what it is it's like I feel like it was such an avoidable moment, and I think because the bottle wasn't labeled, which doesn't make sense to me in retrospect. Like me, like having, because I also have worked in restaurants and stuff like that, and it's like you label shit for that very reason. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
Something doesn't get mistaken. So I think somebody fucked up behind, like on the other side of in the crew.
Right.
Because it's, I mean, it's a good thing for us to have bleach in those conditions so that we can like sanitize stuff.
Uh-huh.
I think is like maybe, I mean, obviously it's not something that's like talked about like on screen, but like if you look at like we're like washing fucking dishes in this dirty water and shit, and then have to empty that out and refill it. But we had like bleach and like, at least from my recollection, we had like, you know, access to stuff that could disinfect, which I feel like was smart on their part. But like in that case, they should have labeled it and didn't.
Right, 100%. I'm glad we finally got to the bottom of that, though. This is honestly one of like the show's biggest questions, and I've only heard wrong answers about like what happened. Like people were saying that like even like other cast members would say that like like it was other kids who just cleaned stuff poorly with bleach, and then like they just or producers that just put bleach in like glass by accident. So
Yeah, no, because I don't think any of that really makes like the most sense. I like genuinely, it was like I poured these shots for these soda bombs,
yeah.
and I just didn't like. There was nothing in my 14-year-old self that was like, I should see how this smells. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah,
just grab and fucking and do the thing. But yeah, that's what it was.
100%. Okay. Well, thank you for that insight.
Of course.
Another big question that we had for you was so at one point around the middle of the show, you really wanted to leave, and then
Mhm.
Guyland, sort of pulls you aside, and then you ended up staying. What did Guyland tell you that made you want to stay?
Well, so it's actually it's a couple of things. Our conversation was obviously a lot long. Like if you when you watch the show, the conversation is so brief.
Uh huh.
Uh, excuse me. That to me, from my feeling, it doesn't. Well, I mean, in the editing, I think it works, but ultimately, whatever. Guylan and I, and this is what I mean about certain misrepresentations in terms of like there's no possible way for them to capture everything, and then even if they did, they can't use everything.
Right.
So what gets left out is that there are like I was really close to like Maggie, who you almost never see on the show. I
Right.
was really close to Jazz, who like you almost never really see on the show.
Uh
I
huh.
was really close to Guyland. Guyland and I were actually really close. Like I think he was the one of the kids that I stayed most in touch with in like the immediate like few years following Kid Nation. Like it was him and Laurel and Morgan and Kennedy and like, but there were so many like connections that were formed that you don't get to see play out necessarily because there are sort of quote unquote more interesting things happening
Right.
or points of like contention or opportunities for drama, right?
Yeah.
So Kylan and I were actually really close.
Yeah.
Long story short, and I genuinely like saw him as like my like little brother there, and like
Sure.
also I had gotten to a point because I think another possibly another aspect of the show that like didn't end up coming through was I have an older sister who at
Yeah.
that time like when I was 14 we hadn't ever like we're really close in age, like she's a year older than me, and
Okay.
we hadn't ever been apart like for an extended period of time, so it was almost like a twin, you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
never been apart since I was born anyway. And I remember just like missing her a lot. And Guylan in our conversation was just like, yeah, I know you miss your family, but like, like we're here and like we're doing this really cool thing. And how many times are you going to get an opportunity to do this and blah, blah, blah. And I think you should stay and blah, blah, blah. And also, I feel like as kids, we have like a hard time keeping secrets. And I
Yeah.
think people are wondering if he was like, hey, you're going to win a gold star. And the thing about it is he did not outright say that, but he was like,
Uh
I think you should at least just wait like
huh.
5 more minutes, okay? Just wait and then you can go home. And of course, I was like, wait a minute, what?
Right.
So then I went back in and the whole thing, and then they were like, you won the thing. And I was like, oh, sweet. So, I mean, it was a long conversation and he said a bunch of different things, but I remember him like appealing to that sense of like familiarity and closeness that like he and I had at that time. And then also in a very like childlike way being like, I think you should stay. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
I took that to mean I might win the gold star. And I
That's
stayed.
very nice. Yeah, definitely. So have you ever thought about leaving the show after you won the gold star?
Um, hmm. I think I remember there being like one other time, probably like I think it was around the time, like, do you remember? I'm sure you do, but when it's like the all like sort of older dude, like town leaders, and I'm one
Yeah.
of.
Yep.
There was a couple of times in there where I was like, this sucks. I don't want to do this. I want to leave. Like one of the things that I like look when I was rewatching the show, and when we're in the oh my god, when we were in the it's
In
like
the street.
Blaine and I, and we're in the
Yeah.
street, and I'm like, I watched it like this time around, like because I haven't seen the show in years. Like I honestly I don't really talk about it. Like, but I was like,
Yeah.
like it's so messed up, low key. But like at that age too, I feel like so much of us are just kind of we're like an accumulation of like regurgitated behaviors that we pick up going on around us. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And so like,
100%.
they'd kind of come to me and been like, "Hey, bro, like they're talking mad shit about us behind our backs. We're gonna get back at them by like sit." And like I was like, "Yeah," you know. Meanwhile, you look at the thing and like nobody said shit about me, so I'm just
Right.
there in the middle of the street looking like an asshole with the other two.
Right.
But nah, it's pretty wild to see, and it shouldn't have happened. And like low key, and like I didn't have the language for it then, but like I know now, like we were like catcalling, and that shit's really uncomfortable to watch actually. To
Uh-huh.
watch like kids like do that, like imitate that behavior. I don't know.
Definitely. So, in regards to you and like Greg and Blaine sitting out in the middle of the street, like looking back at it later, do you almost feel like they exploited you? Like they like tried to like trick you so that they just have more council power in their ranks?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I think so. Again, it's a little more nuanced than that, only because Greg Blaine and I were yes. Okay, the answer is yes. They did in terms of what we see on screen. There was a level of manipulation there. Uh, and also, I remember being like, I was close to Greg and Blaine and like Migla and Natasha, as
Uh huh.
well, who you definitely didn't see at all on the show, but because I remember like being as like I remember like wanting to be like in with them and whatever, and
Sure.
so and at that age like yeah, I don't know, just wanting to be like cool or whatever. And so like I think I was taken by that too. Like as well as the misinformation,
Yeah.
I was also trying to like be like one of them. You know what I mean? Which is like it's really cringy and hard to watch it, like to rewatch it. And then like there's a strange thing that happens where first of all, 14-year-old me is an entirely different person from who I am now, obviously.
Yeah.
But like it's so weird to like watch it and then remember like who you were at that time. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Right.
it's really cringy. Like
Yeah.
so fucking uncomfortable. Uh but yeah, so yeah, I was manipulated, and then like I feel like when I was rewatching it, I felt like a sense of shame around the fact that I was so easily manipulated. But then also like our entire existence for the period of time that we did that show was like either manipulating or being manipulated, even by the adults around us. So that's kind of the name of the game when you get to reality TV. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah. Definitely, I get that for sure. Dang. So what did you end up doing with the $20,000?
Uh, I don't know. Gave it to my mom.
Oh,
She
okay.
stuff with it. I ended up going to. I mean, yeah. I mean, yes. I just graduated college. Literally like this semester. It took me a while to do that, but yeah, there was like a little bit of money set aside for that, and I
Okay.
I gave it to my mom. I was 14. I don't know what the fuck happened to that money.
Definitely. Well, yeah, that's very nice of you and everything. I
Yeah.
I I do have a question on the gold star. So, a lot of times, like you're given the gold star, and then we see people who have won the gold stars. Like a lot of times, they're just walking around with it in town and everything, or they're just flexing it a little bit.
Yeah.
Were you ever like nervous that like someone would just go into your like bed and like take the gold star? Was that even possible?
Well, no, because it's like I feel like a couple of things. A, everybody saw you win the gold
Yeah.
star, including the producers. It's like if somebody like like they would give, you know what I mean? Like, and also those gold stars were essentially worthless, the ones that they had us have, because I think if I'm remembering correctly, like gold is like kind of too soft to hold that shape of like the star.
Oh, yeah.
And so those were just trophies anyway. So,
Okay.
by the time I think it was pretty well understood that it's like that wouldn't you know what I mean? That wouldn't be like no one would be able to make off with your money.
Exactly.
Just not a thing.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
just
And I'm pretty sure like all the other kids would be like, where'd you get that gold star? You know what I mean?
right. Yeah, and someone would be missing
Yeah.
one. Yeah. Sure. So what would you rate Mike and Guyland's job as a council leader before you?
Um, hmm. Well, I think I'll be real. I mean, I think pretty much everybody did the best that they could with the responsibility that they were given, and
Uh-huh.
also being like where they were at the time. And Guyland, I remember him being like, I've never like gone out for anything before, and I think that it was really for me personally, at least I can only look at this thing in hindsight now. You know what I mean? Like I
Uh-huh.
can't put myself where I was at that time, but like in hindsight, I'm like, I'm really inspired by like watching this kid like go out and do this thing. When he was like, when else am I going to get the opportunity? I might as well do it now. So that's really
Sure.
cool. That was really cool to see. And then for Mike, I mean, no, he wasn't great, but he also wasn't bad. Like, no, I don't think any of the kids were like horrible except for little Taylor. Like young Taylor
Yeah. Okay.
was wild, but. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's hard for me to answer that question because I can only look through a lens of like compassion for children, like as an adult.
Definitely.
At the time, I probably would have trash talked them, but I think everybody did fine, man. I mean, it is what it is. A bunch of kids trying to make something happen, and it is what it is.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
Speaking
Do
of
I
the
think
red.
I'm the best? Sure. That's a different question.
right.
Yeah.
I'd probably make that argument for you too for the red team. So
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think I did a decent job. So.
yeah, definitely.
I
Speaking
was,
of the
I had a temper too at that time too, which I didn't really realize. I
right.
thought I was a little hot headed, low key. Like I was like watching it last time. I was like, who is that? Like, but yeah,
Yeah, you're a little bit more chill now.
I'm way more chill now than I was.
Okay.
Well, because I'm not 14 anymore.
Yeah.
You
No.
remember 14? Come on.
Speaking of the red team, you guys had a pretty famous red member, Jared. Uh, this question I ask everyone actually, but maybe you'll have some more insights because you're on the red team. But in the first episode, Jared says that he has his worst day in 3 years. Do you have any idea what happened 3 years ago?
Listen, I don't think anyone knows. I mean, well, maybe if you can get in touch with Sophia, maybe she would be able to help you. But no, man, I have no idea. And it's really funny because watching it the first time around, I never caught that. And
Yeah.
the time around, I was like, what? Wait, have you tried getting in touch with Jared at all?
Yeah, we have people working on it. He's a little bit more recluse like Greg is, but we're making the effort for sure.
Okay. Well, I'd be interested to finding out the answer to that.
Okay, definitely.
Yeah.
And having Jared on your team, were there any like fun or like interesting, memorable moments that you had with him?
So many. I mean, Jared was. Ooh, I wonder if it made it on air. This one time we were having a disagreement, and
You and him.
yeah, he
Okay.
and I, and he was like, and Jared was like, you're like a dictator without the tater. I remember. I remember in that moment, like, because I was like upset with him for whatever fucking reason. I remember in that moment, like, I couldn't help but like laugh. I was like, this kid is wild, man. Nah, but he was a good dude, and like he and I also stayed in touch for a little bit of time after the season ended. But I mean, listen, he doesn't disappoint. He was always not an entertaining person, like unapologetically him. Even at that age, there were a few people like that in our little cast. Like Sophia, I think Sophia has always been who she is,
right.
even as a kid, and I think Michael Tope as well as one of those people. I've been talking to him and Anjay a lot more on like just like kind of keeping up with each other on like Facebook and social media, especially as like the Black Lives Matter protests have been starting because if I'm not mistaken, both Anjay and Michael are in Seattle.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. So I've been like talking with those guys about what's happening in that like autonomous zone thing that the protests are doing. So I don't know, man. Yeah. Jared. He was a character, man. I hope that guy. I hope he's well, man. I hope he's well.
Definitely. If you could just confirm one thing for us too, we got a little bit of confirmation from Anjay earlier, but have you seen like Jared get into like a number of physical fights?
Uh, I feel like that's really vague for me. I feel like when I hear you say that, there's like a familiarity of truth to it, but I couldn't recall a specific moment right now.
Okay.
But maybe, yeah. I feel like that's possible.
Were there any other like physical fights that you've seen like outside of Jared, like anyone else on the show?
Well, I feel like what I remember most is like roughhousing versus like physical fights.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of just like playful, I guess I want to say, energy that like went down around that shoot. And so yeah, there was like when you see like rolling over like sleeping bags and like stuff like that, like it was more stuff like that where there were like things got like physical, but not in like like an outright coming to blows kind of way. At least I don't think.
Sure.
Who is there? Yeah, at least I don't think so.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really weird because like although I'm like I mean this is like a total like I'm cool doing the interviews and stuff. It's like it's really hard for me to remember certain details. There's such
Yeah.
a time ago,
Right. It was 13 years ago. That's pretty long.
right? All right. Anyway, okay. So what else? What else you got?
How did you feel like being voted into like an entirely fresh council?
Oh, dude, I thought it was lit at the time. Like I was like, yeah, things are gonna change. Here's the thing about the whole show is it's I feel like you hear us as kids like sort of echoing this sentiment of like we're building a new place. And it's like and I think for the most part, most of us believed that at that time. Do
Right.
you know what I mean? And it's like I guess I would argue that you couldn't maybe have the show that we had without the kids really buying into that. But now looking at the show, being so like detached from it, there is no element of building a new thing at all
Uh-huh.
with how that show was like run or executed or designed. Really, you know, everything is orchestrated from the kids going to this journal every week. It's like I'm looking at that and I'm like, yo, this is so like that element of it was so whack. Like the fact that we're building a new town and like, but like I remember like really being like, hey, this is our chance. And but on the flip side of that, I do think that there is like at least the feeling maybe of like there being a responsibility not to misrepresent kids, just in that we can be mature and we can have like talks and conversations and stuff without it coming to like some crazy thing, you know, blows or whatever like that. But which I think we were mostly successful at.
Yeah,
That
definitely.
makes
It's
sense. I kind of went on a tangent there. Any of that?
no. That completely made sense.
Okay.
You just mentioned the journal, so what was it like for you to come in and like read the journal every few days for you?
Um, it was like it was just a part of a part of the job. Low key, I mean, because it's kind of like this. It's kind of like, I had the feeling, I had the sense that I was malleable enough for the sort of producers who were on set with us in terms of just like if they wanted me to talk about chickens, I'd be like, okay, cool, yeah, I'll talk about the chickens and like finding like little inserts of being like, are y'all in love with the chickens? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
providing like enough of like I think you get this sense of like it's like I feel like if you talk to Sophia, you might hear her describe it possibly a little more well thought out than this one is, but like because I remember watching her on her YouTube channel talk about it, and it's just like, yeah, you kind of befriend some of the people behind the cameras and you kind of get a sense for what it is that they want, and it's like you aren't unaware that you're being manipulated, you know what I mean? Like
Uh-huh.
I think it might be the way that I remember thinking about it was like an opportunity,
Sure.
you know, of like being on camera more or like being whatever. And I think I forget what your original question was, but that's what the culture was like, at least for some of us, I think, on set. And I think you can kind of see who those people were because they ended up getting more screen time. You know,
Right.
so it was just this weird thing of like manipulation but like thinking of it as like opportunity. I do remember at one point there was this one like producer who was like, he knew that I wanted to be an actor because I think at that time I already knew that I wanted to be like an actor and entertainer of some kind because I got cast on the show. Excuse me, when I was doing this, I used to do this thing called the Chicago Children's Choir, and I had a solo, and it was like this Kirk Franklin like high energy number, and I'm like fucking 14 or 13.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah, I was 14 at the time. So I'm like, fucking, I'm 14 and I'm like jumping around on the stage. Here we go now, in the front now, ladies. And then like somebody's in the audience like, oh snap, like this kid would be perfect. Because I get the sense that they want it, just like these sort of archetypes of like kids, you know, so that they could then create like a formula where there would be like those
Right.
tensions and like whatever, which is why, yeah, oh, this goes back to the journal. Like shit, like, yeah, like we need religion and Bonanza. We need this and like those things, these sort of thematic core of episodes that were orchestrated, and it all starts with the journal. Like,
Okay.
yeah, it was weird, and I just also got the sense that it was like, okay, I am a town like leader now. I'm gonna get more airtime, and this is a part of the job. This is a part of the thing. We wake up early, we look at the journal, we deliberate what we want to do, and that's just it becomes a part of the job of being on the show,
Sure.
like that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Definitely. Yeah, it does. So you mentioned that I'm not sure if I followed one part. So you said that you got on the show because someone noticed your solo in like a choir performance.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you ask, I think it's an interesting question to ask whoever you get on the show, like how they were cast, just because I think the
Yeah.
casting process was like actually like pretty big and long.
Yeah.
Like it was a pretty like long process, and I think it was like the scale of it was a little bit bigger than I think I realized at the time. But because I think I keep referencing Sophia because she was the one that originally got me kind of thinking about it because I saw her like one of her videos on YouTube, but because I think she was at some science camp or something like that.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, oh wow, that's so different from my experience because my thing was like I said, I'm choir. I like have a solo thing and I'm like jumping around the stage and it's all this energy and I'm like I'm performing. I'm a kid that's performing and I think
Yeah.
like Markel had done like Kids Bop and like so. Process is really interesting for me because you did end up getting a whole like group of just like different kids from different back farms and rodeo shows and pageants and so I don't know, that part of it is like really interesting and I think so freaking random because yeah, just cause it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how it happened for me. And then that casting person reached out to my music instructor who reached out to my parents who talked to me about it. And then we did the thing. But I think if you
Okay.
talk to my mom today, she'd be like, if I'd known what that show was going to be, he would not have done it, is what she would say
Really?
about me.
Oh,
Probably.
okay.
So,
Wow. Gotcha. So this is also sort of related to the journal. There's one episode where you, Greg, Blaine, and Michael all go to like a hike where you end up at like a Native American like group. Like it's even like hard to describe where like they imparted wisdom on you and everything. Like
yeah.
what was that like? We didn't really get to see a lot of it.
Someone asked me about this recently, and I'm going to be so real with you, bro. I completely forgot about that until I watched it like a few weeks back, and I was like, "Oh yeah!" Like because it was just because and then when we left, we had these the four of us had these. I remember the guy kept calling us Jefe, which is Spanish, so that's odd. But I'm like, well, and then like so now we have like a lot of different because it was what when did that come out? When did the show come out? 2008, 2007?
2007.
2007. And what's interesting about it is it's like it's also such this like it's such a time capsule for what the time was, I think, too. Like you hear references to like Osama bin Laden, you hear references to like George W. Bush, and you hear references
Right.
to, like you all I've
Saddam
almost
Hussein.
forgot what that time was. Yeah, or yeah, Saddam Hussein, that's right. And like and yeah, and so like this what's interesting about it is now we have language for all of this stuff, that how like the way that we talk about the world now has like sort of changed, I think, in terms of just like the language available to us. And so I feel like there was like a little bit of like exploitation and like maybe even a little bit of like appropriation that was happening around that, because when you think about it, it's like really weird and like it comes out of nowhere. And I
Right.
don't know who those people were. I don't know
Yeah.
if they were actors or if they were actual. Um, but I remember what do I remember about it? We had these wristbands and they had like silver on them, and like all four of us kept ours. Mine has been a Bogart. It's called a Bogart
Uh-huh.
because there's something about archery and there's something about it like slapping the wrist. Yeah, a Bogart it's called. Um, and that's what I remember most about it. But I don't know. I don't know if we like stayed the night out there or if that was like an orchestrated. But I think we must have. Dude, yeah, you're gonna have to ask somebody else because like I have my memories around that are so fucking fuzzy. Like I literally completely forgot about it until I watched it
Right.
months ago. But it did, yeah. I mean, it did happen. We did leave the rest of the kids for a time, and then we did come back and did not get to ride on hot air balloons. I remember being very pressed about that. Like I was not happy.
Right. That was a lot of people's like favorite experience too
Yeah,
of the whole show.
yeah.
So yeah, the only
Soup kind of that we ate. Anyway, man, I don't know. Yeah, maybe Michael will probably. I have a feeling Michael might remember that a little bit better if you get in touch with Michael Toad.
okay, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So one sort of big controversy that happened for the red team was when Guyland switched up the teams. So, you know, you guys ended up recruiting Nathan to the red team and you guys got rid of Emily. You know, what were your thoughts on that?
Didn't really have a connection or relationship at all with Emily, so I don't think I cared that much. Because I think even when I was watching it, I was like kind of holding my breath to be like, am I one of these people making fun of this kid? But I don't think I was in that group of people, so that made me feel good. But uh, it's actually pretty funny because I feel like he mentioned something about being homeschooled, and I was also homeschooled, so
Sure.
but that wasn't like information that I get that was like on that ended up on the show. But like I feel like people like use that as a way to make him like weird or something. But yeah, man, I don't think I cared that much, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think the thing that pissed me off at that time was when Laurel made the decision not to, when Green Team wouldn't play. Like and then it became this thing of like, well, their leader stuck up for them. And I'm like, no, like that's like everybody else was down to like friggin' I don't know. It was like this weird cliquish thing that was like going on, and it just.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that I was resentful is because I always felt like I belonged more on the green team than any other team. I
Sure.
wasn't over there.
Right. If it makes you feel any better, I asked Laurel who if she'd taken anyone, like if she had to, and you're the only name that she brought up, so
Yeah, damn right. Right, Laurel.
thanks.
That's my girl, man. I love that girl. She's so dope.
That's great. So another point, probably like your biggest point of controversy, I'd say, like you specific, were
Mhm.
your injuries on the show, where you fell down once in the first episode, and I think poetically, you know, you had like a sprain or something in the very last episode.
Well, so that whole thing. So there's a few things that happened. Like I'm not gonna say I had like a lot of like medical things happen, and also so like I'm an asthmatic,
Sure.
and some of the challenges I think you don't really like see, but like they always were on standby with like an emergency inhaler for me. So some of the times where I think you kind of see me off to the side, like sitting down, it's like because of that. It was like really bad when I was a teenager. So there's that aspect of it. And then I also, I mean, I don't want to make excuses for myself because I do recognize that I was like a little bit of a drama queen, and like I was like, I think I like had a spasm that first day, thought I'd like, or like a Charlie horse or something like that, and thought I'd like pulled a muscle and was like kind of like tweaking out about it. That was just like a whole tweak session that happened, and then I ended up on top of the friggin' thing, which was kind of cool, and I was like, I feel like a king. And then later on, so you see like this clip where my pops like at the end, he's like, yo, he's like, you got big, boy. And I remember like looking back on that, and I remember I had like a growth spurt in the time that I was like away. So my knees were like all kinds of just like literal growing pains.
Wow.
And I remember there were a few challenges that I actually ended up being like, yo, my knees are like freaking killing me right now, and like sitting out. But yeah, so I just underwent like a bunch of just like, there was the bleach, I had asthma, and then like I had a growth spurt and was like a little sort of pained. So was I milking it? I honestly don't know. I feel like no, I remember that first instance. I feel like I probably could have shaken that off and just gotten back up and whatever about it. But I do remember that like that last one, like towards the end, the last like few challenges that we like did, I was like on and off in like a lot of pain. So I don't know.
Gotcha.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay, we got it on the record.
That's in the comment section. They're like, "What?" Still me. And I'm like, "Yeah, I never said I wasn't."
Gotcha. So, according to Michael has like a Ask Me Anything on Reddit. So according to Michael's AMA, he thought that Migle. So if you remember the very last episode, there were three $50,000 gold stars.
Yeah, I remember that shit.
And he thought that you and Greg both had a crush on Migle, which is why she got a 50,000 gold star. Do you have like any comments on that?
I think. What do I think? I think if there's one thing that I'm still impassioned about all these years later, it's how much bullshit that last awarding of the gold stars was. Because we weren't allowed to give it to who we wanted to. Basically, we had to give to people who'd either won the gold star before or been a town hall leader, which was bullshit. Because I remember really feeling like all kinds of torn up about even the last gold star that we gave out. I wanted Pharaoh to win one. I wanted Pharaoh to win one because he was one of the few kids who had kind of like opened up about his home. I mean, this was also long ago, so whatever. But
sure.
I remember thinking that it was like pretty fucked up that we couldn't give the star who we wanted to. But Migle also similarly had, I was close with Migle. I was close with Migle. I was close with Greg. I was close with Blaine. And it was one of those things where it's like the one person that we could like give it to, I think, like in terms of the four dudes who were on council, Greg, Blaine, and I had a connection to Migle. Do I think that it was like maybe it was a crush? I don't know, man. It's hormones and 14, so yeah, probably. But also, yeah, fucking, it was just like we had three options and we had to, and two of them weren't really options, and so the third one was like most people on the current council are friends with this person, so she's gonna get it.
Gotcha. So if you had like one person to give the gold star to, like just in general, you think it'd be Pharaoh?
For me, yeah, man, I think so. Cause I think that kid, I think he should have won because he never didn't work hard. They made him like a story of the week thing, and then like never really faced with him after that. But like I remember him being like a pretty consistent worker. I just don't think he was popular, and I think that's why he didn't like get one. And I think that's kind of messed up. And I think that's also what happens when you have a bunch of kids making those decisions. So
yeah.
So the whole thing was kind of like the gold star thing was. I think you can like debate that shit back and forth probably in ad nauseum, But the people who won and those who, I mean, it's done now. So, but yes, my feeling was like there were people who I feel like probably should have gotten gold star like that. Well. Like I was gonna say, like Mallory winning one for her birthday was like so messed up to me.
Right.
But you know, yeah, it is what. Yeah. I wonder if like if I guess if you can call them a fandom, if there's a Kid Nation fandom still, I wonder if people like have strong opinions about Gold Stars. I imagine they must.
Yeah. I mean, there definitely is a pretty big like community and everything. There's like a big Nation Discord and everything. So yeah, they're always, it's like a Socrates round table over there about gold stars and everything.
All right, well there you go. I wonder what I have some curiosity around that in this moment. Like, you should have won, but whatever.
Right. Okay. So this is something that like we've seen kind of, but like, you know, there've been a few parties in Bonanza City, you know, for the time. Were they like lit or like just
Yeah, I remember. It's so funny how kids emulate the behavior of adults, but because that fucking soda bomb shit, like whoa. But friggin' yeah, I mean they were fun. They were like just like us like cutting loose and like hanging out and doing goofy shit. You know what I mean? Yeah, they were lit. They were really lit. I remember that first like really big one we had, and then like you kind of see the next morning, it's like everybody has hangovers, but like literally no one had alcohol. But it was
right.
yeah, yeah, it's just funny to watch. But yeah, no, they were super lit. I remember having a good time.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So you know, we're getting a little bit towards the end of our interview here. So, you know, now I want to just like know more about you, you know, like you're an accomplished actor and everything. Could you give us you know, a brief overview of your acting background?
Sure. So I attended a college and a theater program here in Chicago. And then I left school. I left school for a while so that I could start acting professionally. So I took a break for like 5 years.
Uh-huh.
And in that time, I started working in theater. So I did show at like some of the bigger theaters here in Chicago: Steppenwolf, Goodman Theater, Chicago Shakespeare, Looking Glass Theater, Writers Theater. And I did shows professionally around like that. And then I did like a couple of movies. I did a couple of like commercials. And currently, I'm on a show called Chicago Fire, where I play Darren Ritter, who is an openly gay Black firefighter on the show. One of the franchises, I believe, first. So I'm like really proud to like carry the weight of that particular representation. What else? Oh, I also created a website. My first. So I'm very passionate about representation. That's one of the things that I really care about as an artist. And what representation means is it's not this idea of visibility, right? Visibility is this idea that like it's essentially tokenism. This idea that like in a cast where it's majority like white people or white dominated, if you have like a Black character or an Asian character or, you know, Pacific Islander character or whatever, indigenous person who's in the cast, that does the work of representation. That's false. Because
Right.
what happens with visibility / tokenism is it's that you end up sort of depositing all of like your general ideas about a person's race into one person, thereby making them a sort of generalization of like what Blackness is supposed to be in the context of that show. So me caring about representation means that, you know, I can be a Black person from the South Side of Chicago and not have a fucking gun in my hand. I can be queer, or I can be have a certain level of education, or they're just in the wealth of stories that exist like in Blackness in particular. For me, being a Black actor, a Black person, it's important to me to have adequate representation, that there's a spectrum that exists of like people, and to then further humanize Blackness beyond criminality, which I think is what we see a lot in visual representation in media and also like news in general. So that's a long way of saying I created this web series called The Tea. And The Tea is about a queer Black man and a white trans woman. And I think that everybody should freaking watch it and engage with the kinds of conversations that we are having around gender expansionists, or no, not expansionists, gender expansion and those ideals. So that's what I believe and that's what I care about. Y'all can follow me at Daniel.
Definitely. all your links will be down in the description below for sure.
It's
I'm
literally
more than happy to
just
put
my
it.
name. So it's literally at Daniel Kyrie across all platforms, and you can
Okay.
find that. But that's a little bit about me and like what I'm up to and like what I care about. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just a dude who used to be on a TV show and is still on a TV show. So
That's awesome.
that's it.
Definitely. Do you feel like Kid Nation sort of set up a lot of your opportunities, or was
Absolutely
it
not. Hell no. Nobody gives a
no?
shit about Kid Nation. Like, I mean, just in terms of like professionally speaking, I think it is this really interesting thing that like happened, and we have to ask ourselves why or how.
Yeah.
But but yeah, no, like no, it's that it hasn't done a damn thing. I don't even think it's on my resume. I know it's on my IMDb now, but it's not on my resume because, like I said, I don't really like talk about it. I hadn't really thought about it. I remember there was like one. So immediately after, it was like being really popular for a while in
Yeah.
Chicago. Like it was like this thing where I couldn't walk downtown without, if there was like a group of kids, they'd be like, "Is that?" And then they would. So it was like being really popular, and then like that went away. And then years later, there was a little resurgence when I was in college.
Right.
Back in when did I start college? 2009, 2010. Back in 2010. And so when I was in college, there were a bunch of people who, because it was like we were just starting to like binge stuff, and Netflix was just starting to
Right.
be a thing and like that. And people like, I believe Kid Nation was on Netflix around that time. I might be misremembering, but I think it was. So it had a resurgence, and then people started recognizing me at parties and stuff.
Okay.
So then I talked about it then. And then like, yeah, haven't really since. So the long, like the short answer to your question is no. It has done absolutely nothing for my career. So yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
Um.
okay. But I mean, that's okay. I was a fucking child. I'm glad that more people don't know about it, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
Just because like I think having your formative years sort of broadcast in that way it's a little, like I said, it's like a little cringe inducing because so many of the things that I even like said, I was just like, that's not even him. Like, that's not even me. That's like,
Right.
I'm saying something that I heard. You know what I mean?
Exactly. 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I've noticed you're also a little bit of a TikTok star. You want to go into that a little bit? I mean, you are one of your videos has like 5 million plays, right? Or am I mistaken?
So, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I haven't like really. I honestly haven't really kept up with it, especially like during quarantine. So basically, what happened? So I'm on this show, and I had started like watching like TikTok. Like I'm pretty active on social media, moderately active on social media, and I noticed that there was like like the younger side of our fan base on Chicago Fire. They all had TikToks. I was like, you should get a TikTok. You should get a TikTok. So I went and I downloaded the app and I saw what it was about, and I thought it was kind of fun. So I started doing
Uh-huh.
like little dub overs or dance videos or whatever. And it became this thing that was just like a fun thing to do. It was like a way to be creative, like outside of my like work. I'm also a writer, so I like, you know, but like it's just like this sort of low stakes creative outlet. So I did it and it was fun. And then quarantine happened and I got really depressed and panic ridden. And so I stopped
Damn.
keeping up with it. And then they had this whole thing happen a few weeks ago with Black Lives Matter, where I think the hashtag was blocked, and I felt some type of way about it. So I just haven't been back on there. But
Gotcha.
I don't know, I might start it back up, soon.
Gotcha.
I don't know, man. TikTok's weird,
Right.
but it's fun.
I've never really used the platform myself,
Really.
so no.
It, it's fun. It's like because it's like the same energy around it as like you remember Vines, like
Yeah.
got that same kind of energy like around it, and it's like it's kind of cool. It's also kind of really cool to see what Gen Z is up to in the way that like I feel like so many more of them are like woke at younger ages than we were. Like in our oh, I'm assuming you're a millennial.
Uh, I'm kind of more Gen Z. I was born in '98.
Ah, okay, all right. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like you're cusp, but I feel like you're probably more Gen Z. So yeah, you guys
Yeah.
are cool.
Oh, okay. Aside, so you mentioned that you're still in touch with like Michael, Anjay, and Laurel.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from those three, are you in touch with anyone else?
Um, uh, uh, I mean, I use in touch loosely, but I think it's more like a keeping up with kind of thing. Sophia and I had a conversation not that long ago. Um, Laurel, well, yeah, you mentioned Laurel. Morgan, and because Morgan was in Indiana, our families did a few things together, like in the like few years after. But
Okay.
he and I kind of keep up with one another. Who else? Kennedy, right before Dorona hit everybody pretty hard in the US. Kennedy was actually, she'd hit me up on Facebook and said we had plans to uh, grab a drink together
Okay.
while she was in Chicago, but it ended up not happening.
Yeah.
And then there are like maybe one or two people who were behind the camera that I kind of keep up with as well.
Oh wow.
And yeah, like that. But
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, there's a part of me. Here's the thing: while so much of this experience is like far behind me, I also help but be mad curious and interested in the idea around a reunion of some kind. Just
That'd
be,
be amazing.
just because I have so much curiosity around like who everyone turned out to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. That would be a cool thing to happen if anybody gave enough of a fuck to fund that. But
Right. So you guys did have one reunion like 8 months after the show ended.
mhm,
Did you attend that one?
I don't think I did. No.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
I was just
I think it was sort of like a cluster or a group of kids who were like in like states that were like close enough together to make it happen, and I don't think I was in one of those states.
gotcha. That makes sense.
I saw
So,
Meekley a bunch. I saw Meekley a bunch afterwards because she was out in like Downers Grove, which was like a suburb of Chicago. So I saw her a bunch.
okay,
I don't think I ever heard from Nathan again, even though he was from Illinois.
wow, yeah, uh, really great that you're keeping in touch with a lot of the people though. So, what are your like life plans beyond here?
My life plans?
Yeah,
Well, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, which is, essentially, I want to be able to be a person who creates. I want to be I want to become the vanguard of the new Hollywood. Meaning, the new Hollywood is something that isn't a predominantly white space, and a predominantly like cisgender, like patriarchal, just old white and wealthy friggin' playground where everybody else is a pawn or a toy. I think I want to create a Hollywood that is inclusive and that gives a fuck about people's stories and like actual like experiences. Like I believe in representation so much because I feel like, for me personally, the times at which I've been able to empathize most with people who have a different experience from me is when I'm able to like watch something or engage with like a play or a story or even a song or read a book or something like that like brings me into another person's experience. And so I want to help contribute to creating um creating a diversification of the stories that we get to see in movies, that we get to like glamorize. Like how nice would it be to like have like a strong like queer like black like woman superhero freaking character with her own franchise who's fucking kick ass and like just exists and just is. I don't think there's enough of that. I think there's so much of like, well, this is the formula. It has to be this, and we have to take the token and do the thing. And I want to break down some of that, man. And I want to create a new way. Yeah, I want to create a new way of storytelling that is more reflective of the world that we actually live in.
awesome. That's great. That's really inspiring. Definitely.
Well, thank you. It took me a while to get there. I'm not gonna lie. There was a time where I was like, I just want to be rich and famous. And I think the more I've grown up and sort of read books and have become more anti-capitalism, I think the more the more I see the bigger picture of where we need to go, like as a society, and we need to shift the importance from property and having and accruing and plundering and exploitation, of resources and of people. And we need to get more to community-based, I think, way of a community-led way of living and being and taking care of one another. And I really believe that, because I'm not a religious person. I think for the most part my spirituality lies with the people. And by the people, I mean those of us who are like fighting not just for like ourselves, or people who look us or believe the exact things that we believe in, but every person. Like, I believe in those people. I believe in that movement. I don't know. I probably sound like a fucking hippie right now, but that's just my truth. And I want to be a part of that. And my area of expertise is in the arts. And I think that the arts are such an important way to begin that work. So that's what I'm really passionate about.
That's awesome. Yeah, great that you're very passionate about that too and everything. Yeah. So I think that just about wraps us up for the interview. This was a blast to have you here. DK is amazing to like speak with you and learn all your insights, learn what you're up to now. It's amazing, and I want you to keep succeeding, man. You're great. You got a lot going for you, so I'm really really happy that you start out with Kid Nation, but you're doing so much more now. So really happy to see that.
Okay, now I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Now, after having this conversation with me,
yeah,
has my ranking changed or not?
Dude, you're double S tier. You're a double S tier, DK. Just for showing up here.
There we go. I'm gonna.
Of course,
can't
bro.
wait for you to redact. Nah, but I remember I was cracking up when I watched that video, man. But yeah, it's been a pleasure, dog. Like, it's been really dope. Thank you for reaching out. I appreciate you.
Definitely, you're the man, DK. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Be well. Take care of yourself. I'm gonna get out of here and get some fucking food because I haven't eaten today.
Definitely. I hope you have a good meal. And of course, everything, anything you want in the description, we'll throw it down. Your Instagram, TikTok, the T web series, anything.
Amazing.
You got it.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool. All right.
Take care of yourself, DK.
Take care, man. Bye.
Yep. Peace.